Alright, take two. I was just recording only for like 8 minutes, and I looked over and I saw that there was said that there was a bug, something wrong, so it stopped recording, and I was in the middle of this rant. I don't know, I'll go back and say a couple of things, but I won't go over the whole thing as far as this video goes. Hi, this is GMrDrew, working in my studio and working on a Ninja Turtles picture right now. A lot of you don't know me. I'm kind of an unknown artist, still trying to get discovered. It's alright. I love drawing. I guess that's all that matters. I'll just keep doing it no matter what, and that's the point, right? So yeah, when I was recording before, I was talking about everything that's going on with this picture, which was that it's a Ninja Turtles. It's a series of 3 that I'm doing. Hold on one second. See, here's one I'm working on, and it's coming close to the end. As far as inking, the inking stage goes. So this is the second one that I'm inking. Here's the first one. See, it's nearly the same exact thing. Obviously, a few details are changed here and there. You can never reproduce the same exact thing twice. So there's 2, and the third one, which I'm going to start inking tonight. Here's that one. All pencils, hasn't been touched yet. And man, a lot of what I was saying about these things got lost in the video that I was just making that crashed on me. So kind of a bummer. I don't know if it's even worth going into or not, but yeah, there's 3 pictures. The whole reason why I'm doing 3 is I just booked Supercon in Miami, and it's the first big convention that I'm ever going to be working. So I'm pretty stoked and trying to come with as much ammo as I can. And I've had this project idea. I drew these things originally like a year ago. Or I drew the first one a year ago, and it was back when I was still really working digital, and that's why I thought the 3-color thing was going to be no problem. When you work in Photoshop, everything is obviously it's another art style of its own. It has its own complications, and not to say that it's easy, but as far as like just doing a quick color change and changing the headband colors, something simple like that would be no problem. But to do that with traditionally, obviously you're gonna have to draw and work on 3 separate images, pieces, whatever. And last year, when I was in the middle of working on it, my computer crashed, and with it, I guess that's when I stopped recording my old videos. That's probably why they're all a year older than this one will be when I post it. In the last video, I was just getting into my method, my inking method. I was talking about how I enjoy working with a mechanical pencil most. I like details. Obviously, if you look at this whole thing, everything's super detailed. It's what I'm about. Don't know why. So I was also talking about the type of pens that I use. Right now I'm using the extra small Faber-Castell, super tiny nib. I mean, it doesn't get any smaller, so it really works well with the mechanical pencil. Obviously I use a 0.5 or 0.05, whatever it is, so I could always get all those little details in. what I was getting in the middle of before was the inking method, where, like I said, I use Faber-Castells. It's the only one I want to stick with. It's the only one for me. And after I pencil something, obviously there's like some thicker lines, some thinner lines. I go over certain ones, make them more pronounced and things like that. So when I start inking, I always go with the big brush, just so you can see the difference. You have this big, I forget what they call it, like, I guess tattooing terms, it's like a mag shader, you know. And then here's the extra small, so it'd be like a 3-needle liner or something, or the very rare one needle liner as far as tattooing goes. But I'm just inking paper here, not that big of a deal. But I use every size in between these, as long as I have them. So I always start with the brush, and I'll cover big areas like you see in here. All that was, you know, at least filled in with the big brush, as well as the shadows down here, any of the major black that you can see. You know, all these in here, we're done with that. And then I'll go a little bit small with the smaller brush. Still has a brush head. Let me see if I can show it up. You can see it still has a pretty big brush head, covers good ground as well, but it's just for, like, you know, if anything for the big brush couldn't handle. From there I move down to the medium, or the mid, whatever the M stands for. I just call it medium. This one's actually like the first liner, and I'll cover any of the lines that are a little bit more pronounced with this one. Anything that I draw with the mechanical pencil over a few times, maybe outline the character, things like that, just to make those lines stand out a little bit more. And then from there I go with the F. I think it stands for fine. So it's like a finer line than the medium, obviously. And yeah, I guess you get the point. From the finer I go to the small, and then after the small I go to the extra small. And with all those, it covers the gamut of the mechanical pencils, as far as all the detail that I'm drawing in and everything like that. Still getting used to it. I mean, I'm no great inker as it is. You know, I just try my best, and it's everyday learning. But yeah, I try to work down, because back when I used to tell myself, like, no, you want to start with the small one. That way you make sure you don't ink over the details with something a little bit broader. Like if I used like the fat brush over a thinner line, I would kind of like not capture my pencils properly. So I would always work from the small up, but then what ended up happening was I was wasting way too much time. Just wasting way too much time with the little one, trying to cover as much ground with the little one and outlines and things like that. And then when I go in with the bigger brushes, I still go over those small lines and ruin them. So I was like, alright, that doesn't work. It's a waste of time. It's too slow. So I was like, you know, let me try it. Let me try it the other way. So that's when I started working from big to small, and you know, kind of same thing happens, but it's a faster method. And ultimately, that's what we're trying to do, right? Is as well as get better, but we're always trying to get faster. Everyone's always trying to produce faster, you know, bigger, stronger, faster. You know, that's what everyone wants. And hell, that's what I want for myself as well. You know, if I can make a dope piece of work in half the time that it took me before, then you know all about that. So yeah, this is the second one. Down to the fine lines. I don't even know if the camera can pick it up from this point. But you know, I think it can. It's a pretty good camera, as long as it doesn't crash on me anymore. I don't know anything about technology, so I don't know why the last video crashed. You didn't miss much, just a lot of diarrhea of the mouth. I was also saying before, I wasn't sure if I wanted to let music play, because you know, I know how much YouTube likes taking down people's posts that have other artists' copyrighted work on there and whatnot, and I kind of get it, but I kind of don't at the same time, you know. Like, obviously this is a drawing video, it has nothing much to do with music, it's only really there to entertain you guys, so you don't have to hear me, bleh, you know, spew out the mouth. Best part about inking at the end of the page, like I'm doing now, at the end of my inking, is I just hop around the page, because now this is the last brush that I'm going to be using, the last inking tool that I'm going to be using as far as the black ink goes. So now I'm just looking for any stray piece of lead that I can find on the paper, and then I just cover over it. Any of you unfamiliar with my style, I mean, yeah, I do a lot of detail, but when I started inking, I mean, back in the day, 10 years ago, let's say, my first attempts, they were, I was really into tattooing, and my ideal tattoos were the ones with, you know, clean, crisp lines, and which is great, which is fine for tattooing, but I noticed when I started getting into comic books and was, you know, drawing a comic style a little bit more, I'm very loose, and I like that. I like getting loose and not so tight and anal about the lines, you know. And when I started to ink, and I would ink over these very scratchy pencils, and you know, I don't erase if I go over something, or I don't, you know, if anything's crossing over something else, I just let the lines run through, and I love that. Like, I love looking at my pencils, and then whenever I would ink something, it would just turn into Powerpuff, you know. It was like just super clean, and I was like, damn, you know, I lost a lot of the energy that was in the picture, or a lot of whatever made my artwork, you know. It became a lesser product in my eyes, and you know, I was just like, well, what do I do about that, you know, because inks, as far as I knew, you only had like one ink brush that you would use, because I wasn't smart enough, I didn't know about these, you know, mag brushes, small brushes, mediums, you know, I didn't know about like the whole gamut of sizes that they provided you with these brands. So for a long time I was producing like comic-like artwork, but I never enjoyed the inks, and if I ever inked over like an original pencil, man, I was just so disappointed in my own work. And then you have to sit there and you know, show people. You have to show people, you know, what. And essentially, if you're ashamed of your own work, you're not selling anybody on it. You know, you kind of not, you're like, yeah, you know, look at it, whatever. And people are gonna look at it, and you're not giving off the best vibe. And I was like, man, I can't do this, but I want to ink. And so I started really getting into comic books and looking at artists that I like, and you know, anytime I would find a comic book that I really enjoyed, I would look at the artists, and obviously the pencilers usually are the big names. At least that's how I saw it. I don't know if that's how it is. But like, pencilers would be the ones, just because they're laying like the bones, they're laying down the skeleton, and then the inkers, a lot of people, at least the stigma used to be that, oh, you're tracing. You know, that's why the inkers didn't get as much cred as the penciler. And then you kind of learn as you look into it, like, that's not necessarily true. These guys aren't just inking; they're adding to the artwork. And after I learned that, you know, I started paying attention to inkers and whatnot. And honestly, with everything like what I just said, I still don't know too many. The only one I'm really familiar with is the I don't even know his name. I'm ashamed of myself. I think it's John Glapian. I can pull up. Yeah, let me pull it up. Hold on one second. We got Batman, Court of Owls, Volume 1. And I'll get into it a little bit more. But yeah, John Glapian. Sorry if I pronounced it wrong. You know, I saw him post a video of him inking some of the Court of Owls stuff, and I was like, oh wow. You know, and then, you know, it was like a speed video. And he was inking like a giant owl that was attacking a bat, and he ran through the whole gamut, and he kind of voiced over it. The video was fast, something I'm sure everyone here would wish I would do. Kind of just show the artwork going fast and do a quick voiceover. That way you don't have to listen to me through the entire video and listen to me explain this junk, all this pointless detail and reference. And if anybody could find that video, it's here on YouTube. If anyone can find it, Jonathan Glapian, again, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, inking, and find a video of a big owl and it's attacking a bat. Just watch that one. That was the one I watched, and super inspired, learned about it. And he also, I think he went into explaining like all the brushes that he was using. Like, he actually used like paint brushes, I think, and like dipped, you know, quills in the ink. I don't know what he was doing, but it was insane, man. I loved it. And then that's when I was like, okay, and discovered the Faber-Castell. I forget how I found out about it, but you know, as far as inking goes, that guy is my inspiration so far. But the reason why I found out about him obviously was because of the Court of Owls, but more so because of Greg Capullo. I don't know how to pronounce anyone's last name. I'm terrible. But yeah, Greg was the first comic book artist that I found out about. Luckily, you know, I was fortunate in that. In his work with Spawn. Again, when I was a kid, I didn't know about any like comic book shops near me or anything like that. I didn't even think to look them out. I knew comic books existed, and I was a big Batman fan, but I was a fan of like the movies, which I'm sure a lot of you are gonna hate me for, you know. But I was a kid, so I was aware. But at the same time, I guess I just wasn't proactive about it, you know, or so enthusiastic that I actually, like, as a kid would ask my parents, like, oh, that's what I want to do, or that's what I'm into. So when I finally discovered, I was like on my way to a friend's house one day, and I went through Sandalfoot, and I discovered Comics and Games, Docking Bay 94 in Boca. And I was probably in high school already when I went in, and even though I was a Batman fan, you know, Superman and the X-Men, things like that, Spawn was always something that caught my attention. And so when I went in there, not knowing what comic book to buy, and just at all, at, you know, the scope of comic books and everything that was in there, and all the artwork and colors and, you know, and layouts and everything, man, I loved it. And I sought out Spawn because it was the only real character I was interested in looking into at the time, you know, just to get started, get my, you know, wet my beak, so to speak. So I started with Spawn, and like the 100s, you know, like the 130, you know, something around there, where Capello was drawing it. And anyone who knows, anyone who's read that, you know, you'll know, like, oh man, the artwork's beautiful, Spawn is great. It was so, oh, it was so great, you know, just down to the details of the anatomy and looking at the, you know, obviously the muscles and whatnot, but like even just the fingers and how they would look claw-like and not perfect, not anatomically perfect, but stylized. And yeah, luckily Capello was the first artist I ever got into. I didn't even know he was that big of a deal. You know, I think he was doing like album covers already at that point and things like that. And I was a new booty. I new to the game, knew nothing. So I really lucked out with that. And since then, obviously I've gotten into comic books a lot more, and I keep my eye on Capullo. Anything and everything that he does, I'll always try to keep my ear to that beat, whatever, you know what I'm saying. And yeah, man, he started working on Batman, and then he hooked up with this John Glapian, and John inks his stuff great. Whoever, you know, I apologize, I don't remember who was inking his things back in, I know McFarlane inked some of his work, you know, covers and whatnot. And I was just ignorant back then. I was just like, yeah, whatever. Anyone who inks over Capullo is just going to be great no matter what. So I never really paid attention to it. But, you know, there's artists out there, really standout artists, and I guess it is kind of true. You know, pencilers, they do lay down the skeleton. So, you know, good inker, bad inker, you're always going to have something, somewhat of a good product, finished product. But since then, other than Capullo, other artists that I've really learned to love was one that's coming to mind right now was Jay Lee. I found out about Jay Lee on his work with whatchamacallit, the scary writer dude, the Shining dude, the author that does nothing but author books non-stop. Stephen King. There we go. How do you forget his name? Sorry, my mind's probably on this whole inking process. But yeah, Stephen King did this run of, I guess it was a novel originally, and it ended up turning into a graphic novel or a comic book called The Dark Tower. And honestly, I haven't even finished it yet. I don't even know if the series has finished. I have, what do I have, 3 of them so far? You know, Gunslinger's Born, the, you know, the Return Home, the Long Road Home, and then the one with the chick on the front, you know, the badass gunslinging chick. And those are the only 3 I've read so far. I you know, just like anyone else, I don't have much time to really get into these things, but bought those books, 1 because of Stephen King, 2 because of the reviews, and then you know, you look at the artwork, it's great, and then you look at every page and you're just in awe with, you know, these super shaded style, and it was grim and dark, and went really well with the material. And Jay Lee, you know, he's killing it. I just recently, you know, as much as I like to follow, I don't follow too closely, I guess. I just found out Jay Lee was working on Superman Batman New 52. I was like, no way. Good for him, you know. And so yeah, Jay Lee's another one that I'm like, I'm convinced. I'm like, I'm just gonna follow this guy. You know, anything that he works on, I'll eventually get to it. Like I'll eventually get to the other, Dark Tower graphic novels. Anxious to see how it goes, man. What are other books that I'm into? I wonder if it even matters. Oh, yeah, another, since Docking Bay 94 was the original comic book store that I ran into. They've since Sandalfoot moved, but right down the road. They're not far. They're on Loxahatchee. Shout out to them, man. The guy who runs that joint, I asked him one day on Free Comic Book Day, I was drawing and whatnot, and I asked him, like, a good comic to get into, and Darkest Night had just came out. Blackest Night, sorry. It's a Green Lantern series. And he goes, no matter what, you gotta get this one. And he handed me Blackest Night. Here, let me grab it and show it to you guys. Sorry, lost it for a second. Yeah, this one right here, Blackest Night. He handed me this book, bought it, and he did not disappoint. One of the best references anyone's ever given me in my life. I learned about Jeff Johns on that one. I might have been already a Jeff Johns fan and not even known it yet, because he's written so much. And like I said, I was into the cartoons and the movies before the comics, and I know he's written on some of those things. I don't know when he started, but who knows? I was probably already a Jeff Johns fan at that point, didn't even know it. Jeff Johns wrote it. Obviously, great writer. Y'all know him. And this guy, Brazilian, so I might be mispronouncing his name, of course. Ivan Reis, Heis. I don't know, Brazil, they pronounce the R's like H's. It's R-E-I-S, so however you would pronounce that. He is. Either way, Ivan from Brazil. Here's another one of some of the best art I've ever seen. Just not even comic book wise, just general. Guy's a monster. The amount of detail, like I said, I'm super into detail. Obviously, you're looking at my work right now. That guy, and not even that, just like the shading and the rendering and the finished product. Like, I'm super rough around the edges, and not that that's a bad thing. I actually like that about my own stuff, as I gloat over myself. But yeah, man, I'm just gonna call him Ivan Rice, because that's what I've been saying in my head until someone corrects me, and I apologize again if that's offensive. But yeah, Ivan Rice, man, guy's a monster. And he's another one. Anything that he does now, keeping my eye on it. Luckily, or fortunately for us, him and Jeff Johns have been kind of locked in with each other. Obviously, DC's enjoying having them on their team. They have them working on Aquaman, and of course Aquaman artwork, cute, with Jeff Johns writing, bringing them back and whatnot. And having Ivan Rice with his so much detail and obviously they're bringing Aquaman back in a strong way. I never knew anything about Aquaman except for watching him on the old cartoons, the old Justice League, and I never knew about the stories of people making fun of him, like, oh, he only talks to fish, haha. Like I kind of caught on to that later, but he was so luckily I didn't have too much bias against Aquaman in the first place, and then just watching these two guys just make them shine. Perfect writing, perfect art. I mean, Mira looks fantastic in that Ivan Rice's rendition of her. The bodysuit, the way it glistens, Aquaman's shirt, the way that he captures those the lighting, the way he's able to pre-render, before the color artist even gets to it. The way he's able to make those scales on their armor, it's just baffles me. Super jelly of this guy's style. But it's nothing to get mad at. It's how you get inspired. So I'm watching this guy with his ridiculous renderings, and what I want to learn off of him, watching him so much, is like how to do that rendering, the way that and have the foreknowledge of lighting and secondary lighting and just capturing textures. I was just recently read the second volume 2 of Aquaman with Black Manta in there, and he must have been so much fun to draw. I mean, you think about it, he has like the wetsuit, the body tight wetsuit, so it's just solid black, rendering that out, and it's like whatever wetsuit's made out of, or whatever their Atlantean suits are made out of. You have that texture, and then you have his helmet, which is just pure metal, just straight metal, and that has to be so much fun drawing as well, and yeah, man, Ivan makes that stuff look great. And then every now and when he shoots his little manta ray thing out, the red starts to bubble up. So before he shoots it out, you see this picture of these like red bubbles just bloop, 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 right in front of his right in front of his mask, and I guess it would sound more like a charging up or something. Either way, you see that, and then the next page is this, like Cyclops, a big red flash, and so dope. This guy's, he captures everything. So again, super jelly. I mean, so obviously, I don't know, maybe to you guys I'm not saying anything new, but I'm just recently meaning the last few years, been learning about these artists, and learning to follow them, and to not having any shame and picking up their work, and looking at it and studying it, and seeing what I could take and make it my own. And I think it's helped, from Capullo, from Capullo, I'm sorry, man, however you pronounce it, from him, just drawing the layouts of the anatomy, and being, don't be afraid to make something look a little weird. Make those fingers a little clawed, draw that, anyone with a claw or a nail, make that extra, draw that extra, what almost looks like an extra, not digit, but an extra knuckle, almost, and give it that eerie, creepy, clawy, yeah, man, just, so I'm getting that from Capullo, and trying to make it my own. And then when it comes to Ivan, that's when I want to learn from him, or when I watch his work or look at his work, I'm just staring at the rendering, the capturing of the light, and knowing where the light's going to be, and really, you know, I don't know what that does, if how much it helps, or if it even helps the color artist. But man, definitely check those out if you haven't, man. If you're, I imagine more comic book people might view my stuff, if anyone ever does view it. But alright, am I almost done here? Almost. Yeah, after I finish doing this ink, I'll upload this video. I think it's fast enough, or long enough, where, you know, just so my computer video won't crash on me before I upload it. Get this out there. I think it was a good first return. Only one hiccup, aside from the name butchering. But yeah, pick those up. Anyone who's into a good read, because Snyder's working on Batman. You know, New 52 Batman. Snyder's writing it. Capullo's drawing it. With Jonathan Glapian. I just feel like I know I'm saying these things wrong. Inking it. It's all mastery work. So buy theirs, man. Buy it. Don't download it. I'm sure it's all digital downloaded these days, but yeah, acquire it. Support them. These guys are putting in major work and really helping out an entire generation of artists, such as myself. So get the Batman New 52, and the Aquaman. You know, I guess Aquaman's somewhat of a joke for whatever reason. Oh, he talks to fish, but it's not even that. It's not even about that. You know, it's not even about that anymore. When you have masters working on these characters, it's just about the appreciation of the art, you know, and it really does. They're like staples for the comic book industry and for whatever, you know. They're really hooking it up. I think these are just adding the finishing touches. So much detail. Why do I do this to myself? Why can't I just... I got an animation degree. I was taught how to simplify. And while I still could simplify, I just keep adding detail, man. I don't stop. My motto is to fill up the page, but you don't have to fill up the page with, you know, complete blackness. Just one big fat brush across the entire sheet of paper. I'll yeah, I think this is it for this one, man. Just touching it up with the Superfine. You know, like I said, all I'm doing is trying to find, there we go, trying to find lead on the page and cover that sucker up. I ain't having it, son. No, not after I'm done inking. No more lead on the paper. How about I just play some music? What is this, old Big Pun?
Straight beat without corporate funds, scorching guns, waiting for the war to dawn. Me and Plan paint the picture to the fortress done. Let the streets be the canvas for the worst to come. Niggas shed blood in the streets to the curse of dawn. Ain't no love in these streets where the hurts is run. The impact push back, it'll burst your lungs. Sit back, think back with a thirst for rum. And I'ma always pop plans till it floods my veins. Till I wanna carry hammers out to crush your brain. I love to face death, got a lust for pain. I love to take breath, I'm the fucking same. And if y'all wanna raise sex, then the floods for rain. Don't need no Teflon vest, I want the blood to stain. I walk in the lake of fire, drinking jugs of flame.
Oh, this ain't Big Pun, this is Army of Pharaohs. Look at me. So I'm playing off of my iTunes. What ended up happening to my account was I had a friend, I have a friend who's super into Army of Pharaohs and, you know, Vinny Paz and all that. As well as I have another friend who was super into 3-6 Mafia. So I got them, you know, they had all their stuff. So when we all joined accounts, man, we had so much content, so much more music. I haven't even listened to it all. I just kind of let it play in the background. So this is just one of those. Army of Pharaohs, I guess it's New York style, just like Big Pun was. I guess I can be forgiven for not knowing hip hop culture. Probably not. Whatever. I got it right. Alright. So that's it for inking this one. I still have to marker it up, but I'm not going to do the colors until after I get done inking the third one, which I'm about to start now. So you'll see me with the fat brush and everything like that. But alright. That thumbs up. How do I do that? There we go. Alright. See you guys in a little bit.